for January 19th. Amid reports the Affordable Care Act is working, some news about the decreased number of uninsured and the doctors who provide our health care is troubling. Roughly 60% of the people who have recently received insurance have done so through Medicaid and not the insurance offered through the Obamacare exchanges. According to studies, roughly 2/3 of doctors accept Medicaid, and they are paid significantly less for the services they provide. This means patients on Medicaid are more likely to be denied appointments or face longer wait times for care. And a poll of doctors show a majority plan to leave their practices early and are reducing daily workloads, meaning those who were previously uninsured will have a harder time finding a doctor or receiving quality care. Australian golfer Robert Allenby was kidnapped, robbed, and beaten while in Hawaii to compete in the Sony Open. Allenby was allegedly abducted from a bar Friday evening, thrown into the trunk of a car and taken to an underground parking garage where he was reportedly beaten and returned to the trunk of the car. Allenby was then dumped in a park where a man helped him get a cab back to his hotel. Allenby has earned more than $27 million through his PGA career, but hasn't won a tour event since 2001. Allenby is currently recuperating and working with the FBI to capture his abductors. The state of Oklahoma carried out the execution of inmate Charles Frederick Warner on Thursday, 9 months after a botched lethal injection in April of 2014 led the state to place a stay on executions. The case is sure to reignite the debate over the death penalty in the United States. IJ Review reports Shonda Waller, Warner's mother, said, quote, "I don't see any justice in sentencing someone to die. To me, the justice is in someone living with what they have done to you, having to live with that for the rest of their life knowing they will never walk out those bars." Warner was convicted of the 1997 rape and murder of his then-girlfriend's 11-month-old daughter. And the Clint Eastwood film American Sniper, based on the life and military career of American sniper Chris Kyle, set records during its opening weekend, taking in an estimated $90.2 million at the box office. This breaks the January record for highest grossing opening weekend, previously held by the movie Avatar in 2010. American Sniper also set the record for highest grossing January Friday opening at $30.5 million, beating out Cloverfield's 2008 record of $17.2 million. Many people on social media posted pics of long lines and stories of sold-out showings of the film. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 19th.
Welcome to the show. This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausen. We've got a special guest on the line with us, the writer of the great book. If you haven't already read this book, let me just read to you what Bill Whittle said about it. Perhaps the most important book I've read in the last 10 years. It has forever changed and clarified the way I view the world. You can't have listened to Rush Limbaugh very long without Rush mentioning it. The book is called The Kindergarten of Eden, How the Modern Liberal Thinks and Why He's Convinced That Ignorance is Bliss. We've got Evan Sayed on the line. Evan, it's good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon, Evan.
Right, it's just afternoon, so I can't really testify to the fact that it's a good afternoon, but it's been a good afternoon thus far.
Welcome to the show, man. Hey, it's 3:04 in Indianapolis, and it's above freezing, so it's a great afternoon here.
On the other hand, it's the day after the Colts played, and maybe we should talk about something else.
All right, but let me comment on that real quickly, because you and I broke the game down, was it Friday? It's what I said, and you got these idiot Patriot fans. You got these idiot, let's just don't even say them. Well, we'll include them. But these idiots who said, before the game, well, it doesn't make any difference. They're never going to beat the Patriots anyway. And then now, you got the predictable comments out there. it's like I told you, and I think you agreed with me, or like I discussed with you. We discussed. I didn't tell you.
Listen, I'm always smart enough to agree with the host before I've been on the air.
Well, see, but you, yeah, but we already
now we'll see if I agree with you.
Okay, I want to say the same thing that I said to you the other day. Andrew Luck, third year, he's taken first year, made the playoffs, won a game. This year he won 2 games. Anyway, it's a step. I mean, it's like, and I guess the analogy I used that I think is appropriate, it's like Michael Jordan for, several years when he broke in with the Bulls. Those guys could never get past Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons. And I think that this is a young team, and they got their asses handed to them. But I think I don't think Luck was intimidated, but I think that the majority of that team was skittish going into that game last night, and I just think that they were nervous, man.
Well, look, they are, and then we can go talk about me because football is not enough about me. But yeah, they were a young team, and in fact, the progress they've made to make it to the playoffs the last couple of years is spectacular. Think about where they were the last year that Manning was there. There's a reason they got the number 1 pick. It's because they were the worst team in football.
Well, Manning sat out the whole year. He was injured. But listen, let's talk about you. I really think.
No. But the point being that the team itself, for them to have then gone on to be in the playoffs and win 2 games in the playoffs, etc. Yes, it shows spectacular growth, and they are the future compared to the Patriots, who have I don't know how many more years left. Okay, talk about me.
Yeah. Let's talk about you. All right. So let's talk about you in the context of again. This nonsense, predictable nonsense from, dare I say, the morbidly obese Michael Moore, morally bankrupt Seth Rogen, that whole crowd, hammering American Sniper, calling Chris Kyle a coward. So I have a few quotes from your Facebook page. I can read a couple of them, or if you have it in front of you, you can do that.
No, I like it when other people read it because that way I get to hear it.
Well, see, dude, Housem, this guy's got to be related to Circe.
I think Circe is trying to follow in Evan's footsteps. Let's just put it that way.
By the way,
Circe wishes he were me.
Guys, did you see that Facebook picture Circe put up where all the people are around him pointing at him, taking the? That was just completely hilarious. But anyway, Evan. Here's a bit of what you said. By the way, Housem and I both are coughing today, so we apologize ahead of time for the rudeness.
Me as well. Me as well.
All right. So coffee. We'll have a coffee. All right. So here's what you said. See, you did not say that on Facebook. You said some on the right are voicing surprise and outrage at the liberals who are spewing such hateful venom at Clint Eastwood and Chris Kyle over the movie American Sniper. They shouldn't be the least bit surprised. The modern liberal will invariably, in caps, and inevitably in caps, side with evil over good. Here's why in this case. And why don't you just kind of take it from there? Because I know you can do this without reading what you wrote.
All right. This all comes down to what other people started to call, and then I embraced myself, the unified field theory of liberalism. That's what's in my book, The Kindergarten of Eden, How the Modern Liberal Thinks. It's the basis of my lectures to the Heritage Foundation. And the modern liberal will invariably and inevitably side with evil over good, wrong over right, failure over success, ugly over beautiful, and there's a reason for it. And that's because the modern liberal is not liberal. He does not have liberal values. He has no values. Modern liberalism is really indiscriminateness, an unwillingness to use your moral and intellectual knowledge to seek out the rightful, the better, the good, the beautiful. And if nothing is better than anything else, if no culture is better than any other, if no religion is better than any other, if no familial construct is better than any other, if no behavior is better than any other, if nothing is better than anything else, then success is unjust, failure has been victimized. Whatever society recognizes as good can be nothing other than a reflection of society's bigotries. Because if nothing is good, then why do we say that America is good and Islamic terrorists are bad? And so in order to eliminate this bigotry that says America is good, the liberal will do everything in his power to try to show that America is evil. And so here you have an American hero, and thus not only must they go after him, but one of the rules of the unified field theory of liberalism is the modern liberal must elevate the evil they ascribe to the good to exactly the level of evil they are always championing. So because they are championing Islamic murderers, they have to cover up for Islam, its workplace violence, and at the same time call the hero the murderer. So it's really not surprising that they sided against this American hero who saved lives, but that they so vilify him that they call him a killer and a murderer.
It almost seems like it's almost worse than moral equivalence, Evan.
Oh, it is, because the first two laws of the unified field theory of liberalism, I'm going to give you how it's written in the book and then explain if I may. All right? The first law is the modern liberal, and that's anybody born after World War II, and it's getting worse with each successive generation as the last of the great generations dies off. And now you've got generations that have never even known a great generation. The modern liberal was raised to believe that indiscriminateness is a moral imperative because its opposite is discrimination. In the 1980s, thinking was outlawed. The idea behind this was that anything you think is going to be so tainted by your prejudices that the only way not to be a bigot is to never think at all. That would seem to be moral equivalent, that everything just meets in the middle. You're not allowed to think about Islam being evil because that might be you, a Christian, and your bigotries. So to eliminate the possibility that you hate Islam because you're a Christian bigot, you're not allowed to hate Islam. And it makes everything meet in the middle. But the second law is really what is groundbreaking. And its indiscriminateness of thought does not lead to indiscriminateness of beliefs. It leads to siding with evil, failure, and wrong. Why? Again, because if nothing is better than anything else, then whatever society recognizes as good can only be a reflection of society's bigotries. So it becomes the moral purpose of the liberal to attack that which society sees as good, elevate in esteem and stature that which society recognizes as evil. And so it's not moral equivalence. The better something is, the more the liberal must attack it. The more evil something is, the more the liberal must champion it. Why do they cover up for Islamic terrorism and go after Israel, this little tiny liberal democracy with freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly? I mean, things that liberals should love. Gay pride parades, a Peace Now movement, a woman prime minister back in the 60s. Why do they champion the Islamic terrorists the most and go after the Jews the most? Because the Jews are actually so good, so successful, so right, and the Islamists are so failed, so evil, and so wrong that they must flip-flop things and turn the Jews into the bad guys and the terrorists into the innocent victims.
You know what, though? Even, I mean, listen. Let's leave aside. After listening to you a couple times analyze this stuff, and you've done it better than I think anybody I've ever heard. You know why they support.
The only thing you need to do is eliminate the words "I think."
Okay,
I have done it
without
better than
question.
you've ever
Without
heard.
question.
There you go.
Without question, you've done it better than anyone I've heard. How's that? Is that all right? Jessica,
yeah.
we'll edit that out. But anyway, I get that now. Why they champion evil and condemn good. But let's set aside the terrorists. Let's they rush to say that when the terrorists do bad things, they rush to defend Islam and say this is not Islam. But take the war on women. The evil Republicans wage on a regular basis. It's all Republicans think about, other than screwing people out of money. Yet, what goes on among Muslims throughout the Middle East? Not all, but far more than those who fly planes into buildings. Female castration, marrying women as young as 6. Why do they not condemn that?
Well, because that would require them to engage in judgment, and they're not willing